No doubt one of our most important fundamental rights. It's unacceptable in every way for a government agency to unfairly scrutinize any organization because of their political affiliations. The IRS has unequivocally made a mistake here. I'm sorry your organizations were singled out like this, and while I think it was a case of foolish account management and dangerously chosen shortcuts, I will not hesitate to say the IRS was wrong. But as I listen to this discussion, I'd like to remind everyone what we're talking about here. None of your organizations were kept from organizing or silenced. We are talking about whether or not the American taxpayers will subsidize your work. We're talking about a tax break. If you didn't come in and ask for this tax break, you would have never had a question asked of you. You could go out there and say anything you want in the world. And I get the feeling that many of you and my Republican colleagues just don't believe, or you believe you should be free from political targeting, but that you should be free from any scrutiny at all. The purpose of a C3 or C4 tax exemption is to enable easier promotion of public good, not political work. It is the responsibility of the IRS to determine which groups are choosing the correct exempt status and which are trying to manipulate the system to avoid taxes and hide political organizations and campaign donors. Without oversight, a status meant for charities becomes a machine for political money laundering. If you think that's far-fetched, you ought to talk to Speaker Gingrich. Speaker Gingrich in 1997 was fined $300,000 by the Ethics Committee of the House of Representatives for funneling money from the ALF, the Abraham Lincoln Opportunity Fund, into GOPAC, of which he was chairman, to promote the takeover of the House and arouse Republican activists. Now, that's what happens when you don't ask questions. Each of your groups is highly political, from opposing the president's health care reform to abortion restrictions to gay marriage. You are all entrenched in some of the most controversial political issues in the country. And with your applications, you are asking the American public to pay for that work. Many of you host and endorse candidates. The line between permitted political activities and non-permitted political activity can be very fine. And it's important that the taxpayers know which side you fall on. If there were an organization promoting taxpayer funding for abortions, wouldn't you want to know what they were using that political money for, or for what candidates they were backing? What about a group that wanted to promote voting without ID? Or what if in the midst of a few years ago there was an increase of communist candidates in this country, new communist clubs wanted to be tax exempt? Wouldn't you want to be sure that the self-declared tax-free classification of those groups was correct? The mistake here was that the staff organizing the organizations used the names of the organizations rather than the work they do, and ask improper questions to figure that out. It's clearly wrong. It was inept, stupid, and a whole lot of other things.